Hello, everybody. I'm Trisha Wolfrey from Your Empowered Self, and this is my podcast on how to manage stress. And today I'm in conversation with Feng Shui expert Rash Rattu, and we're going to be talking about how the management of Feng Shui and the understanding of it can help us manage our stress better. But before we do that, I'm going to ask Rash what it is that stresses her out on a day-to-day basis.
So, what stresses me out is my children not getting ready for school on time every morning. I have put into place everything from setting the alarm, having their uniform ready, having their bags ready the night before. But for some reason, my daughter's the culprit. She dawdles in the shower. She just takes forever. And then she comes out and she's admiring herself in the mirror, using mummy's face cream, the things that she's not meant to be using. She's so young as well. And for me, I like to leave on time. And knowing that she's taking her time, which will then impact what time she eats her breakfast, how much she eats, and what time we leave the door, stresses me out. I'm very much like, if I'm saying we're leaving at 7:30 in the morning, we're leaving at 7:30. And if we leave a minute over, I think my brain goes a little bit haywire. The kids call me bonkers, but that's my biggest stress because I'm trying to be organized and I'm trying to teach them to be organized as well. But that's the biggest thing for me on a daily
And I
basis.
think that's something that a lot of people will identify with. And, when you're a mum and run a house and have your business, you have so many things to manage. And relying on children that don't have the same sense of urgency or consequence as you
They
do,
don't.
it
They
can be
don't.
really challenging. So, are there any tips that when you use them work well? And I know it's not always possible to be perfect at these things all the time, but have you got any tips for people?
I think the only thing that I do is prepare a lot the night before. So before I go to bed, every evening I have their little lunchbox ready full of fruit for the next day. So they do eat fruit in the car on the way to school. They have breakfast, but they do have a little bit extra as well. And it's little things like having their water bottle ready, their school bags, their coats, their game bags, because I'll be honest, I'm not super mom, and there have been days where I haven't done those things. And the impact it has had the next morning where we're trying to frantically find things out of the laundry or things haven't been ironed. So I have to be ready the night before. So I can't sleep until in my mind the basics are done. So literally we're just walking downstairs, eating breakfast and going. But it's my daughter, I'll be honest, she delays everything. It's like brushing her hair. She then decides to do a new hairstyle. And I'm like, no, 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 no. We don't have time for hairstyles. We don't have time for anything. You are on a very tight time scale and you need to just brush the hair, go downstairs, job done, breakfast, and off you go. But yeah, so we do try to organize as much as possible the night before.
Yeah, it's very, very tricky, isn't it? Because this is a life skill, isn't it? Being able to organize your
Absolutely.
time. So
Yeah,
what she's learning now, she'll take into the workplace at some point, and that might impact her. So it's kind of
exactly.
learning how
Yeah.
to instill a sense of urgency. Yeah, crikey. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Feng Shui, that might be a lot easier. So Feng Shui, I actually studied it very lightly. I think I went on a weekend course or something, and I always called it Feng
Oh,
Shui, which is how
right.
it's written, but it's Feng Shui, isn't it?
Feng Shui, yes.
Yeah, and today I do know that there are 9 areas of the home and 9 areas of life that it covers. And we're going
Correct.
to be covering 2 main areas today, which is relationships and health, because we haven't got
Yes.
time to do all of them.
Yes.
But before we actually go into it, would you explain to our audience what it actually is?
Okay, so the very simple way is it's just about optimizing your space. So it's just about organizing our homes using Feng Shui principles. And the way that we do that is we use your floor plan and we divide the home into the 9 areas using the compass. So I think I've mentioned to you before, we use the phone, and so just a simple mobile phone, any phone will do. And it has the compass option on there. And you just use that to pivot round and you find the directions of the 9 areas. And those 9 areas, and we then organize our home just to bring us more abundance and a bit more luck and a bit more, it just changes the energy up into the room as well.
Because you mentioned optimizing space, and people might misunderstand that to mean, getting more in less space, but it doesn't mean that, isn't it?
No, it just means mainly organizing your space slightly differently. So
for the purpose of
for the purpose using the Feng Shui, the 9 areas of Feng Shui. So for example, if you wanted to look at your love and relationship sector, that sector relates to the southwest of the home. And in that area, I had a lot of toys. So I just moved the toys out and I just moved them to a slightly, to a different area which is more relatable for children. And the southwest area is love and relationships. And I just made that more, a little bit more romantic in terms of making sure there was pictures of myself and my husband, and making sure that there was nothing there that represented being single or, being in a single relationship, like no lone pictures. So just having ornaments there which were more male, female, or relationship orientated. And I use crystals a lot as well in Feng Shui. So I placed rose quartz hearts there, but I made sure that we place items in twos or pairs, because one item represents in Feng Shui represents being a solo person. Pairs represents a relationship, and 3 represents a third person possibly coming in between your relationship. So all I did in my home was looked at the map, and I looked where southwest was, and I just put items in pairs. Very simple. I didn't have to.
So really what we're saying is that it's optimizing space in order to optimize different areas of life.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So it isn't space managed, it's not like, how many things you can put in the space, but how you can create a better life in the 9 areas
Yes.
from the best utilization of your space. Now, you mentioned crystals there, Rash.
Yep.
What crystal or crystals are best for relationships? So what should go in the relationship area?
Rose quartz. I use rose quartz a lot.
Yeah.
And I also use rose quartz is good for relationships because that's all about love. But you can also use amethyst, because amethyst is quite calming as well.
Yeah.
And you can also,
does that mean that if it's a volatile relationship in any way, then what was the other one? Amethyst might be the best one.
so amethyst is calming. I think I would always place the rose quartz because that's about bringing more love, and it's about accepting who you are as well. So accepting you as this is your relationship and your personality, and the love just to enhance more love between the 2 people. But it's also about you loving yourself as well.
Yeah, I think part of loving somebody else is loving yourself too, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So in order to boost, so the relationship space is, did you say southwest?
Southwest, love and relationships.
So
Yeah.
use your phone to see where is southwest, and then you enhance that space by putting things in pairs.
Correct.
And evenly balanced, presumably.
Evenly balanced. Yes.
So nobody is more dominant than the other.
Correct. Yeah. So what we like to say is that the relation to have the balanced relationship And like you said, so that nobody's more dominant than the other person. That's why we go for pairs. Otherwise, it's basically saying that somebody else has the upper hand, and which is what we don't want. So I also use ornaments, which are the same height for male and female, because then it shows that the two people in the relationship are equal, as opposed to one person being the more stronger character.
Yeah, okay. Good. And what about health? What is the area of the house or the home that relates to health?
So the area of the home that relates to health is the center of the home. So in the center of the home, we say trying to keep everything clutter-free as much as possible. So we do declutter in the home, because we say clutter holds a lot of emotions, and it's things that we keep putting in the box, or we keep putting at the back of the cupboard, and we never actually deal with. And we say to keep items in the home which we either love, use, need, and has a purpose. And we try to avoid keeping items in the home which we no longer need and we're no longer going to use, or something that's in disrepair, or something that's just, it's taking up vital space that just nobody will ever use, and you just move it from one space to another space. So that's why decluttering is one of the biggest things that we do ask for in Feng Shui. So that's like the first start. Secondly, then we look at the health area, which is in the center of the home. Now, the center of the home looks after emotional health, mental health, as well as your personal well-being. So when you look at that area, we tend to look at things to make sure that nothing's damaged or broken. Because if it is, we do say, well, let's repair them, because in Feng Shui, we say that the home mirrors the individual. So if there is something that does need repairing and it is in the center, what is it that's within us that needs a little bit more TLC? Because life is tough as it is. Nobody has everything perfectly. Somebody has something within them that just needs a little bit of extra care, whether it's emotionally, whether it's physically, whether it's mentally. I do believe that, we all need something, somebody always needs something, that, nobody's perfect in every single area. So we do look at clutter, just to make sure nothing's broken. And we tend to use a lot of plants in Feng Shui, because plants represent growth and vitality. And we know that plants also soak up a lot of toxins, and there's a lot of toxins and things in the air as well. And that's what Feng Shui is about: life. And it's about enjoying life as well. And it's about enjoying life to the fullest. And plants always grow. If we look after them, they always grow. They need wind.
If we look after ourselves, we will thrive.
We always grow.
We
Exactly.
won't, yeah.
Yes. So plants need water, and they need sunlight, and they need, fresh air. But we as humans, we also need the same. We are, I don't know what the percentage is, correct technical word, but we are made of so much of water inside of our bodies. We need fresh sunlight as well. We also need, fresh air as well, because how many times do we step outside and we're like, wow, it feels refreshing. We can breathe as well. So that's why we like to use a lot of plants in Feng Shui. And a nice area to place that would be in the health sector, because then it's also representing our growth as well.
So that's interesting. I have so many plants in the home because I just love them, particularly peace lilies. I think they're so elegant, and I like the fact that they're peace lilies.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
It just means bringing peace. But
Yes.
I haven't got one in the center of the home because I don't think one will go there very well. So I'm very fussy about where things go.
That's fine. Yes, I think that's fine. I think with Feng Shui, we don't want it to be this very strict, rigid way of living. And I think previously in the past, there have been different schools of Feng Shui who say, right, you have to do it this way. And if you don't do it this way, then it's not going to work for you. And it can scare people as well. And the way that I've learned is to use ancient wisdom in modern living. Now, if you can't put a plant in the center, that's fine, but you've got plants around your home, which are also bringing vitality. They're soaking up the toxin and they bring joy as well, because I think plants really soften the room as well. And
Absolutely,
it takes
yeah.
away the harshness, doesn't it? So,
Yeah.
and I've been teaching my kids, like, and I'm showing the kids, like, oh, look, a little new shoot is growing, and they're so excited to watch its growth. And I say, well, you have to look after a plant. You know, you have to feed, water, make sure it has the sunlight. And the same way you look after, you know, plants, we have to look after ourselves as well. And
Yeah.
it's just teaching children these little things. And I think a lot of that isn't around in homes as much anymore. And I want to go back to basics with my children to teach them that life is more than, unfortunately, iPads and, you know, computer games and TV. And I just want them to be a little bit more grounding. Plants then are grounding as well, because they do come from, they live in earth, don't they? And I just want to, you know, try to link the little things like that for my children, to say plants are grounding. And this is how ideally I'd like to bring you up to be as well, to appreciate the little things in life, which are turn out to be bigger things.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned crystals were important.
Yes.
What crystal would help with health?
Health. Probably say clear quartz,
Mhm.
because clear quartz is said to be the master healer. It's said to be the crystal that amplifies and works well with the majority of crystals. So clear quartz would go very well within the center of the home, because it would soak away a lot of the negative energy as well. If there is any. Other crystals I like to use are selenite and tourmaline, because it then, we all have off days. We all have off days. And I think those crystals are also good to soak away somebody's mood, or, you know, it's the energy within the air. And if a small crystal can do that, if plants can soak away toxins, then I think, well, so be it. So I do like to use clear quartz, a bit of selenite, and a bit of tourmaline.
Brilliant. And I like crystals myself, but I'm not so good at doing what you need to do with them, which is you need to cleanse them regularly, don't they?
You
So
do,
I give
yes.
them a light dust. That is not cleansing them, is it?
Well, I just, to be honest, you know, life is busy. Life is busy for everybody. Let's simplify it. And yes, there are protocols you're meant to follow. You know, people say you're meant to sage. I don't sage my home. And the reason being, I don't like the smell. I don't like the whole concept of it. But I open my windows daily. I do clean. I do a lot of other things. So, like crystals, I don't say, some people say to sage them. I don't do that, but I will put them outside in the sunlight. And for me, that's enough to recharge them, recharge their batteries basically. And
Yeah.
that's fine for me. And then I just bring them back in.
Yeah. Okay. I have so many of those in the house. It would be a full-time job managing my plants
It,
and my crystals.
it is a full-time job, 100%. I do agree. Yes.
Okay. Um, what else? So we mentioned clutter,
Yes.
and there is this is a really contentious area because, as you say, life is very busy, especially when you've got children, and if you work from home, the house will have multiple purposes.
Yes.
So there's a difference, isn't there, between clutter and mess?
Correct.
Yeah. Do you
Yes.
want to tell people what that difference is so that people don't feel so bad about everything?
Overwhelmed. Correct. Yes. So I would say mess is okay. So mess is the items that you use on a daily basis. For me, there's a bit of mess in the kitchen. The mess is the children having breakfast and leaving their plate, their bowls, their spoons, their cartons, everything. That is daily mess that everybody will have in their home. To me, the mess is the toys that the children leave out, but it's okay because they use that all the time. You know, it's a daily occurrence, you know, it's
So things that are used daily
daily, yes,
is mess.
it's mess.
And
And
clutter,
clutter is the items that you don't use, need, require, love. And it's the items that you are just not dealing with what to do with them. We all have items in the back of our cupboard that we will no longer wear, that no longer fit us, that you've probably even forgotten about because you keep buying new clothes and you can't see because you're pushing things to the back, aren't you? And in Feng Shui, we do use a lot of metaphors. And like one of the metaphors is like saying, you're shoving things underneath the carpet. Well, then you're also shoving things at the back of the cupboard and you're not actually dealing with what the issue is. It's like, why are you buying new clothes? Is it because you physically can't see them? Or you physically need new clothes, but you don't know what to do with the other clothes? And then we do say, let go of the clutter because it will then bring in more opportunities for you.
yeah, because it blocks things, doesn't it? If
It
you're
blocks
surrounded.
things. Yeah.
So I'm not advocating mess, by the way, everyone who's watching.
Neither am I.
But
But it's okay.
but it's okay.
Yes,
I think with mess, everything has a place. It's just not been put away. So
correct.
as long as it's not a build up over time, so it then becomes clutter, and
Yes.
it's something that has a home and will be put in the where it
Right.
belongs, then that
Exactly.
is mess. But
Yes,
clutter is something that drains energy and blocks opportunities. Is that
correct.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would say, so I used to be that person that stored everything. I was a hoarder until I started this Feng Shui journey. And I then reevaluated my whole life because I thought, you know what, I can't keep all of these items. It's draining me every time I look in the corner and I see something and I'd be like, oh, I've got to do something with that. Oh, I've got to do something with that. And I don't need that in my life. I've got so many other things where my time and energy needs to go. And so I started to look at every item in my home. And the way I look at it is I've got two plans in my life. And one plan is I do want to move abroad just for some time to experience life elsewhere in a different country. And I look at everything in my home and I thought, right, if my husband came home and said, we've got the visas, you're going in a week's time, how easily would it be for me to pack up? Now, today, it would be so easy for me to take because I only keep the things in my home that I need and that I love and that I would take with me to another home. And then you could think of it like if you had to pack up and leave your home now, would you need a skip to get rid of a lot of items? Or would you take absolutely everything because you love them? And the majority of people need a skip because when you do move home, people tend to get rid of a lot of things that they no longer need. There's always a skip outside of a home. They're like, oh, we don't need this, we don't need this. If you're going to get rid of them when you move home, why are you keeping them now?
There's also I know of people who move home. They take the things that should have gone in the skip.
Yeah,
It doesn't fit into their new home. They don't know what to do with it. So then they get the skip. So they've gone to all the trouble and expense of
exactly.
transporting this clutter to a new
Absolutely.
place. And now they're having to, whereas it's a great opportunity. So it's kind of like, I suppose a key thing here is, can you lay your hands on what you want easily and effortlessly? And if you can't, you're dealing with clutter.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. And there's an area of the home, isn't there, that has particular importance. I think it's worth mentioning that here so everybody's aware of it.
The bedroom.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So in Feng Shui, we say one of the most important areas is the bedroom. I'm talking about adult bedrooms. And the reason being is adult bedrooms should be a place for relaxation, for romance, for rest, and it should be your sanctuary. But modern day living, let's be practical, a lot of people exercise in their bedroom or they work from their bedroom as well. And ideally, we say to try and avoid those things. If you can't avoid them, we do recommend you putting those things away at the end of the night once you've finished with them. And the reason being is because if you think about exercise, it starts to bring up it's a very yang energy. It's about being very energetic and out of breath, and it can be quite strenuous as well. I know there's different forms of exercise, but a lot of people do tend to have things like exercise bikes, or all these types of things, or weight training. So it's like a weight that you're constantly sleeping with every night. So we try to avoid those things, because ideally you want to be able to switch off and relax, because if you've had a good night's sleep, the next morning, you can wake up and you're refreshed and you can conquer the world. Whereas if you're in Feng Shui, we say the items are subconsciously speaking to us. So if at nighttime, all of these different items are speaking to us, we wake up and we haven't had a good night's sleep, we wake up groggy and we're just like, oh, I've got to do this and I don't feel refreshed and I'm tired. And it just brings up so many different emotions, and it makes us feel groggy and we don't think as clearly. Whereas when we've had that good night's sleep, you can do anything. Your thinking ability is just so different.
I do yoga in my bedroom, but that's very calming.
I'd say that's fine then. I'd say it's
Yeah.
fine, but I'd probably not have the mat on show as much if you can
Oops.
avoid it. Because
Rethink.
yeah,
Okay.
the only reason I would say that is because it reminds you to do the yoga. And if you haven't done yoga for a week, and you'd be like, oh, I've got to do yoga.
Oh
Whereas
no,
you do,
I do it every day. So the mat is right there.
oh, perfect
So it's
then.
easy. Yeah.
That's fine. I
Yeah.
think it's mainly for those who, if that works, that's completely fine. But there's some people I know, I've had equipment in my bedroom, and it used to be the dumping ground, where you throw the clothes at the end of the night. And then I was like, in Feng Shui, now, this was years ago, but now I've learned that that also represents something, because what is it that I'm dumping? When you look at the 9 areas, then you look at what area it represents, then you're thinking, what am I constantly dumping there that I'm not dealing with? What issues do I need to really look at? Because the clothes that we wear during the day, and the clothes that we wear, it holds some form of energy, because it either makes us feel good or it doesn't make us feel good, or it's going to remind you of something that happened during that day. And when you look at that item of clothing, you can be like, oh yes, I remember wearing that dress and I had an amazing time, or I wore that top and yeah, my meeting didn't go very well. And it's got that energy. So every time you look at it, so ideally we try to say, put things away at the end of the night, rather than just having them there subconsciously trying to remind you this is what happened during your day.
So would it be true to say then, Rash, that Feng Shui is the management of emotional energy and physical energy?
I would say that as well, because
Yeah.
it does
Okay.
hold a lot of emotions,
Yeah.
definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
A classic
And,
example. Oh, yeah, sorry.
and just to kind of roll back a bit, when you said about plants remove toxins, are
Mm.
we talking about environmental toxins or emotional toxins or both or something else?
I would say environmental toxins
Yeah.
more so. But also at the same time, plants are very calming for people.
Yeah.
So that's, like when you look at a plant, I think it changes your mood, and it can reduce how you possibly, like, rather than being so tense and so stressed, and then you think, okay, I've got to water the plants, I've got to look at them. It just represents life a little bit
Yeah.
differently. Whereas if there was something, if your plant wasn't there, would the room would feel a bit colder, and
Absolutely.
then
Yeah.
that would then affect your emotions and how you were thinking as well. And
Yeah.
what would you replace the plant with? What would you put there? It,
Yeah.
it
A
makes you,
plant, another plant.
another plant, exactly. But
Okay. I want to say something as well, because you mentioned that there are different schools. Is it schools of feng shui? Is that
schools,
right? Yeah.
yes.
And you operate under which one?
So I follow the flying schools form of feng shui.
Yeah.
So what that means is so what we've spoken about today is like the base level feng shui.
Yeah.
And then the flying school, flying stars, goes into a slightly different form, whereby we analyze the home and using using when the house was constructed and the location of the home. And it's like creating a birth chart, you know, like in astrology where they create birth charts based on when you were born, where you were born, what date. I do the same for homes, and it tells you the energy running through the home and how it's subconsciously impacting you. So that's what I follow. But there are other forms of Feng Shui whereby they say your front door is, I think it's called black hat.
Yeah, I think that's the one that I studied, but it was only a weekend.
Yes, and they say, yes, sorry.
I think it's important just to decide which one you want to follow.
Correct.
So just follow one, otherwise it
You'll
creates
get confused.
Yeah.
Yes, because if you followed a different form, so like if you followed the black hat, I think it's called black hat, whereas they say your front door is north, whereas, and they will say that regardless of whether your front door being compass north or not, that's how they follow it. Whereas the form of Feng Shui I follow is we do use the compass and we use the true north. So north could be at the back of your home, at the side of your home, or at the front of your home. So we do
The
use
bottom line really is follow just the one.
the one.
Just follow
Yes.
one. So the tips that we've got today is one practice. So if you read another book, either just follow the book or follow this. And that's very important, isn't it?
Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And I wish I had asked a question of our viewers earlier, which I shall ask now, because I'm very aware that you presented a stressor for which there wasn't an easy solution. And I think, you know, if anybody knows how to manage children that have no sense of timing and restyle their hair first thing in the morning when they're already late for school.
Absolutely.
How do you manage children's time when you are time restricted yourself and you've got deadlines to meet? If anybody's got any ideas of those, that would be terrific. And if you've got other ideas about how to create positive energy in your home, that would be useful too. I just wanted to say that because I think that's something that people will have ideas on that will help others.
Absolutely, yes. And everybody will have their own system. And I would love to hear what other people do, because life isn't easy, especially with girls who are going through puberty. And, you know, everybody's got their own, you know, stress factors at home. So the more knowledge that we have on how to help our children,
what I do know is what we teach our children when they're young is who they become as they're older. So, you know, I just think that teaching them about time management is just going to serve them in the future. So I think I probably would be a lot stricter. Hide the hairbrushes.
She's got a 20, I think, somewhere around the home, but no.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, okay. Well, I tend to ask my guests if they've got a book that they've read that they've found inspiring or helpful in their lives that somebody else might feel the same way about. And you've got a particular one in mind, haven't you, Rash?
I have, yes. So I read this book. It's called Secret by Rhonda Byrne.
Yeah.
I read this about 15, 16 years ago, and I truly believe it changed my way of thinking, because it's about thinking positively and how what you think, your thoughts become as well. And it's just a different way of not rewiring the brain, but it's just a different way of thinking. And I'd never thought like that before at all. Everything in my life was always black, white, and there was no gray. There was no in between. You know, people call me very sergeant major. I'm very strict, and it's always very straight down the line. And this just taught me to be a little bit more softer, but open your eyes to the world. And like you can see, like I've got a little tear here, but it's been highlighted. It's got every single corner is folded or creased, and I just absolutely love this book. And whenever I'm not sure what to do, I just open a random page in the book and I just have a read, and it just gives me a different viewpoint on thinking, and it just allows me to calm down a little bit as well and to just think differently. And that's the book that I always go to. And
yeah, it's a very, very popular book.
It is.
And so I would recommend it as well. Okay, thanks, Rash. Well, I hope everybody has enjoyed this conversation as much as I have, and you've got some tips about how to manage your home in a way that helps optimize your life. We've only talked about 2 areas, and I know that there are 9, but hopefully you found something useful here. If you do, please like and share. You never know when it might land at just the right time for somebody. Also save it in your favorites so you can access it whenever you need to. And see if you can put a comment about that, how to manage time with children. Thank you so much for watching and listening if you're doing audio. I wish you a very happy week. Take care. Bye.